courtesy of the red, white, and blue.
It's time for Veterans Issues, the show that brings you information about veterans, military, and their family. Now here's your host, Ken Robbins.
Thank you for that intro there, Gerhard. And we are brought to you by the Red, White, and Blue. Today's guest is Wayne Willis, the mayor of the great city of Weaver, Alabama. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff. Stay tuned and get a pen. Welcome back to Veterans Issue. Appreciate you tuning in this week. Today's guest is not a stranger to the show. He's been on here before, and he's done a great job out here in the city of Weaver. His name is Wayne Willis. Welcome to the show, Wayne.
Thank you for having me.
Good to be with you. We just went through the law enforcement week. I saw you up there for that. What was your thoughts overall?
I hate that we have to gather for that reason, but the memorial was fantastic.
Yeah.
Best we've had yet, I believe.
The memorial you're talking about in the evening, but the thing where we honor the law enforcement for that week, I saw you down at the city meeting center serving some of the troops and stuff. It's for me as a non-law enforcement officer, it just makes me feel so good to see what this community does. We heard our Secretary of State, what he was saying. People coming here to see this, I can imagine what they go away with, because they do kind of go overboard in Calhoun County, don't they?
Well, I don't know if they go overboard. They definitely take care of their law enforcement officers, and we're lucky that we live in a community that supports our law enforcement. There's a lot of places that don't have that luxury.
Yeah. Well, that's I'm going to jump off a script here a minute about that. You know, we have crime in our communities that are domestic and other things. There is no solution that you can stop. You know, I see people get frustrated when there's a shooting, say in the city of Anniston. That is not indicative. That's not a slam on Anniston, because that happens in Birmingham, it happens in Montgomery, it happens everywhere. People just don't see as much. You can't, in this day and time, the way you settle things is not sit down and talk across the table. It's down to shoot across the table. Would you agree?
Yeah, it's unfortunate that society has gone in this direction. But I think the key to getting a handle on the crime in your communities is for the community to come together with the police department.
Yeah.
If you look at cities where the community is adversarial with the police officers, generally crime is bad. But when you look at the smaller towns where the police know the families and the communities, everyone knows each other and they all work together, generally crime is lower in those communities. So that's the key. The community has to get behind your law enforcement.
Yeah.
That's the answer.
We were talking off camera about Officer Bostic. That was Justin Solahub's partner. But he works in the city of Kennesaw, Georgia. You familiar with that?
I've been through it, yes.
But you know they got a law over there that you have to own a weapon.
Yes.
You have to, and I asked him last week, how's the crime? He said it's still very little.
Interesting concept.
I'm saying, if you're the bad guy, you're the perp, you go to the door, there's a 50-50 chance that you might be looking down something bigger than what you got on your hip.
Right.
Makes you think, wouldn't it?
It does, and apparently it's working. So you can't fault them.
I'm not saying let's do like Kennesaw, Georgia, but I'm saying that I just had that conversation. I used to live close to it in Marietta, so I know that there was people over there that they watched the home burglaries really went down real quick. I mean, that was something they were measuring, and it brought the home burglary down, because you know that you open the door, it might be Bubba sitting there with a 357, you know.
Right.
But what I want to get into here now, we're coming up on a time where you're the mayor of Weaver, and we've watched all the things that you're doing out there, and the building of the park, all the things that you've done with getting liquor sales on Sunday and bringing in businesses that were out in the different jurisdictions. But with all that said, there is a situation coming up where we're going to have a Senate 12, District 12 job where Dale Marsh there. At the governor's race, what are you looking at? I'm hearing things and I'm seeing things that you post on Facebook.
Sure.
You even got a sticker on there, and I liked it and joined your group, so I know what it is. I want you to tell everybody else what it is.
I do. Yes, I've had pretty good success as mayor in Weaver, but my goal ever since I've gotten into politics has been to get to Montgomery. And I really feel like if I have the opportunity, I might be able to do some good, because I refuse to become a politician. I want to be a public servant. That's what my entire life has been, public service. And that's what I want to be as a public servant, not a politician. So yes, my plans are right now that in 2018 I will be a Alabama Senate candidate for District 12, which is all of Calhoun County, northern Clay and northern Talladega.
Well, your background, when I first met you, you was an active duty law enforcement officer for the city of Anniston. You retired from there with how many years?
I retired as a lieutenant from Anniston Police Department with 26 years. And the way I actually got into politics is my dad, who was a veteran, was on the city council in Weaver. And when he passed in '98, they appointed me to finish his term. And that was my introduction to public service.
No. But he's a good man. I never wonder what your heart is, but I want to ask you this. You know, we had a problem, not this past term, but the term before, where there was a effort to build 4 prisons, $80 million, and to get the money off of the back of the veterans from the Veterans Assistance Fund, and was able to get that put aside. That's not to say that it might not come back up again, because our money is earmarked in the $1 meal tax for the Veterans Assistance Fund. It takes care of the veterans in the veterans home. It takes care of our cemeteries and all things veterans that we do here, except the GI Bill. What is your thoughts on that? Would you want to put use our money for collateral for?
Absolutely not. You know, I was not in the military, but my dad was. He did 40 years service, so I was a military brat.
Right.
But I watched throughout the years as my dad finished his career that all the promises that he was given were gradually watered down and taken away from him, and more benefits were taken away. And it got to where our veterans have been put as a second class, and that's flat wrong.
Yeah.
We spend more money making a better atmosphere for criminals than we do our veterans, and our veterans need to be on a pedestal, bottom line. So answering your question, no, I would not vote for anything that would take that money. And I support earmarks. Yeah. The reason for earmarks is when that money's put in place, that's because they know down the road somebody's going to try to rob that fund, and that's why it's protected with an earmark. So I like it. Yeah. I think it needs to stay there. And you know, granted, we definitely need some upgrades in our prison system, but it shouldn't be at the cost of taking benefits away from our veterans.
I watched years ago, y'all were with the city, your retirement pay. You know, it was in jeopardy. There's times that you work and you serve and you retire, and then the money in the account to pay you is at jeopardy sometimes.
Yes.
Same thing with the veterans. You know, you write a check. When you took that oath to become a policeman, you didn't say, I won't go if they're a bad guy. You know, I'm only going to go to, you went to everything they sent you on.
Yes.
For some guy over there that don't care nothing about his country, but you defended him just as much as you did the others. So then to say to you, I can't honor what I agreed to do, we were faced that with the veterans. You know, that everything they were taking to build that prison is money and benefits that's been earned already. We done earned it. It's not like welfare. This is money that the veterans have earned, and they're in the veterans' home, their last days on this earth, and you come in there and say, I'm going to put you out in the street because we got to build a prison, and that's where that was headed. So it's not like it's welfare money. That money has already been paid for in Normandy and all the places that it's been earned. I appreciate you saying that, because the veterans out there that watch this show are going to be glad to hear that and know we'd have an advocate that goes down there and stands up for what they've already earned. So we got to go to a break. I'm going to interrupt you there, but we got to go to a break, come back, and we're going to talk more with Wayne, and we're going to talk about going to Montgomery. This is Highway 21 down and turn left, youngin. Welcome back to Veterans Issues. We're talking with Wayne Willis, the mayor of Weaver, a retired Anniston police officer, and we're talking about his possibility of becoming a state senator for the District 12 here in Calhoun County. Does that cover anything other than Calhoun? Does it go into Talladega?
It's the primary meat and potatoes of that district is Calhoun County. Okay. It does cover a portion of northern Talladega and northern Clay.
Okay. So, but let me ask you this. There's a lot of things, I'm going to pick your brain a little bit on it. What about the gas tax that was proposed down there?
Well, no one likes to add tax. That's a given. But we're entering a time in Washington where there's going to be a substantial amount of road funding money available to states to fix roads. The problem is that money comes with matching funds, which is 20%. Right now, Alabama doesn't have the 20% to put up. So we are leaving money on the table, which, as much as I hate to say it, we have to generate some road funding. That's where it's going to come from, and it comes from gas tax.
What that vote is, the federal government would say, we'll give you $10 million for road repairs, but you got to come up with $100,000 of your money. We have to do that. We, as the State Department of Veterans Affairs, we had to come up with $20 million to build the home in Pell City, whereas the federal government came up with $30 million. So that I know about this matching fund.
Yeah, and it's important money, because what you're doing basically is taking 20 cents and turning it into $1. Mm-hmm. And we're foolish not to take advantage of that money. We all know how bad our roads are in this area. It's free money that we are leaving on the table because we don't have the funds to match it.
I think the one thing about the gas tax is, why does it goes up and down based upon the political atmosphere as opposed to the availability of oil. It's not based upon lack of oil or whatever. It's based upon what's happening in the Middle East, or what's happening up in Washington, what's happening in Canada, or whatever. But it has nothing to do with the product. It has to do with what you're going to do with it.
It's manipulated by the Middle East. We all know that.
Absolutely. And so anyhow, I just wanted to know your feelings on that. But that's one other thing too that just come to mind. For a lot of years, there's been John Knight had floated a bill. I think Gerald Dowell had done it too, and it's about the grocery tax. What's your thoughts on that? I didn't mean to throw something on you like that.
I would, and I'm glad you're asking these tough questions, because this is all things that are very important. I would support taking a tax off of groceries if I can be shown where the funding is going to come from. Because you can't take that large of a portion out of the general fund and not have it replaced. So if you do away with the grocery tax, show me where the money's going to come from so we can continue with the education programs and the veterans programs. If you can show me that, I would have no problem with taking away the grocery tax. But for right now, I think it has to stay. I mean, we know the way our states run right now. We're basically hand to mouth.
Well, one question you will get out there is, how do you stand on the lottery? Because you know what, I'm sure you get a feeling of that temperature about that around where you travel. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I was in Tennessee yesterday, and I bought lottery tickets when I was there. That's that money that left Alabama and went to Tennessee. And if I go to Georgia, I do the same. So I am for a lottery. I think, and my answer to the people that say, well, that's just dirty money or that's sin money, yes, it is gambling. But when you take that money and turn it into something positive, which is fixing some of the problems with our schools, supporting our veterans, supporting the RSA retirement, and fixing roads and doing all the infrastructure, putting troopers on the street, we're taking that money that, well, let's call it sin money, and you're turning it into something positive that promotes your community. It's a win-win.
Yeah, I had some similar conversation with a senator not too long ago, and it's taken like the Reverend Ike routine, I guess, is bad money and turned it into good. You know, that's
exactly right.
But whatever about whether you agree with the lottery or not, but I know that everybody that disagrees with the lottery would agree that our veterans need to sleep on clean sheets and be taken care of, and that the people in the elderly and the poor in the Medicaid world need to be taken care of too. So if you take them bad money and turn it around and clean it up a little bit, it's make it bad go for good. What about the concealed carry law that they just passed? I think just anybody could carry, I don't know if they passed it or not, but
I think it was killed.
Don't even have to have a permit?
The permit issue was killed. Again, that goes back to some of our legislators' answer to fix the overcrowding in prisons is to send those inmates back to the counties. So your plan is you're going to send inmates to the county and cost the county more money and then take away money from pistol permits. Mm-hmm. Well, it doesn't take a mathematician to figure out it's not going to work.
Right.
And that's one of the things, as a mayor of a city, I think we make the best legislators because we know how to take a penny and stretch it as far as we can. Because when you have a small town with limited income, you have to make that money last. it seems like when you start getting into the higher levels, they feel like there's an infinite amount of money, and there's not. So
Well,
spending is important.
One of the things that I've noticed about you, never discussed it with anyone, but I never talked to you about it, is the openness and how you run City of Weber. If you got a broken pipe, you'll get on social media and you'll tell everybody how big the pipe was, when it's going to be fixed, how it's going to affect them. Road work, even when there's something that's controversial that's going to happen in the city, you get in there, you address it. I mean, you take them on. You say, okay, here's why I'm doing this.
Right.
And they say, well, why ain't you doing this? And you explain to them in open public, openness, rather than, hey, I won't talk to you about this, and people like me see how you handling things.
And that's worked great. In fact, we just had an open meeting because we had to raise some money to fix some water issues. And so we held a public forum and explained to the group why we needed to do it and how the money was going to be used. What I've found is if you're doing something in government that you're having to hide or do it behind closed doors, you're doing something that's crooked. Lay it all out there. Let the people know what you're doing and why you're doing it. And they tend to support you if they understand why, if it's a good cause. If it's a bad cause, they'll let you know.
Yeah.
And if I'm doing something that's bad, I want to know. So my approach to government has always been more of a common sense, working class, understand the people, understand their needs, and provide for those services. And it's worked well for me.
Well, if there's anybody out there in the first responder thing, they know that they'd have an advocate down there, but in you, because you've been there and done that, so to speak. But that the thing that caught me about when you was announcing that you was going to run for this, you didn't run against anybody. You're not, that seat is occupied right now, but I don't believe I'll ever hear you run against the person who's in there.
No.
That's not your nature.
No, it's not. And ever since I've been running for city council and then mayor, I don't sign on to the mudslinging. I feel like if I'm running against you and I have to make you look bad to get myself elected, then I must not bring very much to the table. Yeah. So when I run, I don't mention the person I'm running against. I don't discuss their past. I discuss what I feel like I want to do and what I think will be best and what direction I want to go.
Yeah. Well, we got less than a minute. The monument issue, remove, stay. What do you feel on that?
I think they need to stay. If that monument was put in place, it was there to recognize somebody in the past. And as long as it's not something that's, insulting to someone, right, I think they should stay, regardless of what the monument represents.
They would be taking away those memorials up there in the park too, because those are considered monuments. So, but I appreciate it. I really did. I wish you the best in this. I know you got my support. That's not an endorsement, because it don't mean anything, but I really do appreciate you coming on and doing the show today. I got a lot of respect for you, and District 12 would be served well to have somebody like you. I can just say that.
Thank you.
Take care. You come back sometime?
Absolutely, anytime.
I got you on camera.
Absolutely, I'm here anytime.
Right. You can't deny it. We got to go to a break. Come back. I got news that you can use. Stay right there and get a pen. Welcome back to Veterans Issues. I appreciate Wayne Willis coming on doing the show today. And y'all remember that name out there that Ken Rollins is telling you that he's a good man. He's a good leader. He's proven. He don't need to try out. He's not a rookie. So let's look at that. You heard him on what his views are, and you can go from there. I do appreciate everybody that participated in the Law Enforcement Week last week. We had one heck of a week, and got a lot of things. K98 Radio is coming up with a thing y'all really listen in that's to do with the military in the next few days between now and Memorial Day. So they called me and we talked this morning. So they're going to be sending me some information. Next week I'll talk about it a little bit more. But I do appreciate everybody that participated in all the businesses and all the volunteers that worked so hard to make that Law Enforcement Week successful. We are building the Firefighters Memorial in the park. The builder's already got to go ahead, and it will include the names of the volunteer firefighters as well as the regular firefighters that died in the line of duty. And it's the official Firefighters Memorial for the state of Alabama. It will be up in the park directly across from the Law Enforcement Memorial. And hope to have that done by the end of this year, 2017, if we can get everything, if it falls in order. And the way we're doing that is the law enforcement tag that Bill Partridge designed, and you get that law enforcement tag. The revenue from that is what we do, the things we do up there in the park. And it's so just think the next time you get ready to renew your tag, think about a law enforcement tag, because what it does, it tells everyone that comes up behind you that the person driving that car honors those who give their life in the line of duty, because that's what the tag is all about. So there's no question of who's behind the wheel of that car. Now, if you just robbed a liquor store, you can still have that tag, but that don't mean you're going to get off. But to consider buying that tag is very awesome, because it does good stuff, and the revenue from it does wonders. Next week, I believe it's next week, but anyhow, I got the guest. My guest will be the director of the VA in Birmingham. And for those of you that know her, Geneva Robinson, the Veterans Advocate's been over about 40 years, is going to come down here for the first time. She's going to be on my show. And so y'all be tuning in for that. If you got a question for the director or any of the folks over there at the VA hospital, send them to me on my information. It's on the screen here. Or you can go on Facebook and contact me, or you can contact me by phone, however. And let me know what you'd like for me to ask the director on your behalf. Let's see, we got still needing drivers for the DAV van that leaves in Oxford in the morning, takes the veterans over to the Birmingham VA, and it brings them back. So it's a good chance for you to volunteer to help veterans. So if you'd like to do that, think about the choice card. Call Birmingham, ask for the choice program, 205-933-8101. And when the operator answers, ask her for the choice program. And tell them you want to get a choice card. That way you can get your eyes checked locally, you can get your ears, whatever. You can have your appointments locally rather than having to go to Birmingham. So it does work, and it's a great program. The Memorial Wall, the Vietnam Memorial Wall, was a very big success over in Gadsden. I want to thank all the folks that made that happen. And there was a lot of people that went and enjoyed it. So. And reminisce. So appreciate that. This week's salute goes out to all those in law enforcement that worked in the Law Enforcement Week, and all those who serve every day that walk up to those tinted windows and not knowing who's behind there. We appreciate you, and we salute you. This week's salute is for you, and we're gone. We'll see you next week.